Hello, my name is Patrick Crosman, and today I'm going to discuss a test strategy and some potential improvements for this website, 007museum.com. This is a website that contains James Bond news, information about the James Bond 007 Museum, contact information, um, for the people that run the James Bond Museum. And there's also information about products and games and James Bond lore. In fact, there's a lot of information on this website, like a lot. So I'm going to take a stab at describing how I would structure things a bit differently. So to get there, let's first talk about my initial impression of the website, as well as some issues categorized by usability, security, and formatting. Then I'll go through some potential improvements that I'd like to make, equaling a desired future state. And that will be sort of the scope of testing that I'm discussing, and then we'll go into the strategy of how I would go about testing both the existing state and this state of future state that I would like to see. When I first saw this website, I thought it was hilarious. It's fun. Somebody wants this website to look like this. They choose to make it kind of confusing. There's so much here. And I was struck with a bit of nostalgia growing up. I played GoldenEye. I've watched a lot of these movies. And there's some pretty good there's a lot of info here. And, if you want to just look for something, you can. You can find text strings if you use the browser find, but that doesn't really help with the usability. But we'll get into that. Um, a single page navigation is completely acceptable. That's in fact, there's so many websites today are just one page and you scroll down them, but things are actually categorized in a logical fashion, which here is a bit lacking. Everything is just dumped down. If you read everything linearly, you'll get it, but there's a lot is put on the user. Um, to me, I found this was sort of a novel experience. It kind of made me feel like a spy, like I was looking at some old archive of James Bond intel that I've got to decipher. Um, so I don't know. It warms my heart to see that this is this way. Yeah. The first time I went to the website, though, I did not think the style sheet had loaded. I just kept thinking, is this what it looks like? So, um, usability wise, we can just start right at the top. I'll list a few things, and they'll kind of form some patterns that we will see a lot of. Navigation is just very confusing. There's this big picture here, which communicates a ton of information, and is just a link to the same place. You click this, you stay on the index page. I just opened up 4 tabs of this website, and that's all that it does. Whereas we've got a map here, and we have contact information, we have an address, and we have GPS coordinates. This QR code doesn't go anywhere. It's a broken link. And we have duplication of a logo in the center in the top right of a corner. And just a car that's here. But that doesn't necessarily make design like accessibility more difficult. But it does mean that a screen reader can't do a whole lot with this image. It just knows what the file name is. There's no alt text or anything in it. Um, it's called Bond folder, and yeah, there's no alt text, and people don't probably don't know what to do with this if they have any accessibility issues. So also just look at how many errors come up when you put in this page. That's hilarious to me. Yeah, 30,000 errors, 56. I wonder if that's a phone number or something. Anyway, there's also which we'll talk later about. There's no style sheet, and they have there's supposed to be a web page, or there's supposed to be a James Bond theme playing in the background, but it's been turned off, unfortunately. But what can you do? If we set it this way, I don't think it actually runs. Doesn't seem to be going. That's okay. Um, Navigation is very confusing. Each of these is a social media link. These are two separate Facebook pages, and there's another Facebook page as well, which is interesting. And there's this TripAdvisor review, and then there's three unique locations here in China and Sweden. Like, there's multiple locations around here, and they have their own page. See, Germany, English, Kina, and they don't uh, they don't distinguish them in any way different from just these random links here. There's also this WordPress that someone has maintained for a decade, for a decade and a half now, and they you wouldn't know that because it's just a WordPress picture squashed to be the same height as the other pictures. This image has a border and this little weird space is underlined for some reason. We've got triplicate duplicated links here. This Nordic backup looks like this is some kind of backup website with archives. It's just in here three times, twice as text. I guess it's in here twice with text and then an image and then text and an image. Um, it's just it's so much it's just so much of the late 90s, 2001 internet just right here. It's charming, but it's confusing. There's none of these conventions that we use today are present. So uh, yeah, this banner. Museum info is not is not clearly displayed, and it's hard to know what to do here. Well, yeah, let's fix this. Maybe this is the recording I'm going with, but okay. And some links open and repeat. And there's also no way to filter out content. Like if I just want to see stuff about GoldenEye, the only real way to do it is with this thing. Um, so with find, which would be nice. Now, there's also no security here. There's no SSL, no authentication required to make requests. I can just make a request here for all the content in the page if I'd like. I can just grab this one here. Let's do. Let's just grab all the tables on this page and read them. So there's all the text on this page. You can see it's littered with non-breaking spaces and formatting, strange formatting, but I shouldn't be able to just go and use requests against a URL like in three. This is technically four lines of code here. Really, that doesn't matter. So in one, two, three, four lines in a loop, I've got I can grab everything I want off this website, um, which is not very safe. And it's vulnerable to a denial of service attack. So if I were to just spin up a JMeter script and hit this, in fact, I could do it even here right now if I just looped independent threads to just start bashing it with request, it would probably end up going down. I don't know, depending on where it's hosted. But then in formatting and structure, as we can see here, there is nothing that keeps these pages consistent. There's nothing has a title. It's just like there's a banner here. These languages are completely inconsistent. Um, I think I already covered the languages. And yeah, there's no title, there's no format, there's no tags, there's no categories. it would be really great if you could have these things organized, perhaps by the movie or the bond, or if it's a product or a game, or if it's a video or something. But it's just top down. And at the bottom, we've got this little banner for the footer. And it's the copyright is kept up to date here, so kind of funny. Um, yeah, so there's no consistent text formatting. Museum information is just it's here, but it's at the absolute bottom if you need it. Um, and everything else is just an image. Um, Text is inline styled at every layer. There is no style sheet here. Everything is just um, as you can see, everything is just spans, styles, inline, and there's no style sheet in here. There's a style here, which I think is some kind of band-aid that's setting some max so it doesn't just go sideways infinitely. Um, it's sad that there's no. I wonder if I can still. Can I make this background style work? Oop, play. Ah, bummer. Anyway, then I got distracted there. I might have to cut that out. Non-breaking spaces are heavily depended on, as you can see here, and there's no IDs or class names used anywhere on this page, which makes it pretty hard. We've got like 10 different kinds of fonts going on. All the fonts are done Times New Roman variant, like it's just repeated and repeated. Um, See, yeah, Times New Roman, and there's so much work done here just to format things, probably in Microsoft Pages. Um, and we use spans and tables. There's spans and tables are used to format things and keep things in place. Basically, everything is either in a span or stuffed in a table or an iframe. Like like we got 4 paragraphs in this one table row in a table data. Yeah, there's one table cell in here for a table, and it's gonna always be. Well, actually, it's kind of responsive. Its width is gonna be 77%, so that's neat. We do have somewhat of a responsive design, specifically for this table. Okay, I just found it. It's fun. This is kind of fun for me. There's also yeah, no divs being used. Now, the desired future state that I would like to see would be to take all of the information for the museum, just the museum, put this information on one page that is called museum information, and it has the information for these 3 pages on it, and is not it's not something that just gets buried under a pile of links here. Then I would like to see the navigation elements from the front page content. I'd like to extract navigation elements to be present in a menu. It would be nice to be able to have menus sort of broken up in a way that you'd have categorized things. You'd have the menu broken up in a certain, in a way. I'd also like to implement usability and accessibility standards, perhaps this ISO, which discusses screen readers and alt text, and then be able to also put in consistent formatting of page content. So things could have, each post could have a title. Well, if you treated these like posts, not just links and tables, something consistent across all of these would be great. And then if you could categorize, I would like to see pages categorized by content, movie or actor year, or if they're a product or a game. Uh, just makes it so hard to get to really get anywhere with this. So to actually make these improvements, I'll describe an issue and then my proposed solution. So for usability, I would definitely add a locales folder and a language switcher, simply to just take all the text on the page and spit back the proper language. Um, for usability, the inconsistent navigation, I would add a menu, be about the museum, museum information, news, 007 links and contact. Maybe contact could be simplified and put onto the museum information, but it's it's there's so many different things going on right here. Um, then the museum information, I would add a page for the museum information, including a list of all of the museums, and I'd implement SSL and use HTTPS so that we have a more secure website that can't be vulnerable, that is not as vulnerable. And I would structure. I would add structure, so I would standardize each piece of content to have a title and date associated with each related movie. Minimum categories, so that you could say remove. Just you could remove all that are before 1950 or all that are after 2000 or something. I'd also add a style sheet and rules specifically for elements so that structure and formatting, text formatting, does not have to be done in line with every post. Um, if I had to test the existing website the way it is right now, I would definitely use some automated automation, but mostly would focus on doing. Mostly, I would focus on consistency, really. So I would take. They do have this archive here, so I would be taking existing HTML from a previous build, I guess, and just carrying forward, making sure that doing a compare of an old page to a new page or to a new change, so that it would actually we don't have any broken HTML or anything like that. I would automate links. So right here, I'm just going to. We could potentially do a um, list all of the links on a page and go through one by one and get their response codes. So as you can see here, we're running one, and we get this is the Facebook link. We're getting a 200, and there's the other link, and there's this travel advisor one, which I think has really good. Which doesn't want me to be doing a ping on it, so I'm just going to stop that. But we could also just do a. We could be doing just. I'll just cut these out, and we can run that again. See, I would just list all of the links one by one. Uh, there's a list of all of our links. See if they're valid. But because things are so inconsistent, like look at how different all of these are. It would be so hard to. Oh yeah, there's duplicates, and it'd be really hard to do anything automatic with this automated. So I would also take a screen recorder, a screen reader, and put it on against this, because we would not be able to tell any of the valid information in this, like these GPS coordinates or any of these addresses. And I would also count all the links on the page, looking for duplicates. I would simulate a user load to find the max users, just to see what it could support. This is an international website. But yeah, I mean, you could take it further and do things where you're testing how it actually behaves in a browser, but that's, I think, outside of the scope. Now, if we were to achieve my future state here with these improvements, with a website that has a language switcher and a menu, museum page, and information page, what I would do is I'd have test suites for verifying languages according to that locales. I would also ensure that new menu contains all of the links that were previously available. I'd verify that we have accurate GPS on the museum information page and that all are listed. I'd probably just have a test suite about the information page and its usability as well. And that's ultimately the most important, I think, really, that people could actually get there if they're trying to look for it. Um, I would ensure authentication is required for using requests against it, making requests and posting to it, especially. I would verify consistent formatting across the content. So we'd have to define what that is after, but once that is defined, you could test against it, and that'd be great. I'd also verify the querying and filtering of that, either a test suite manually or exploratory or even a automated script to just go through and make sure that every single one of those categories can be found, and maybe there's X number of posts for Die Another Day. Anyway. And then I'd circle back through, and I would conduct user acceptance testing with users who had previously navigated the website, just to make sure that they could still use it. Um, and there'd have to be some kind of success criteria about what they were looking for. Um, and because they'd want to have a hard to use, confusing James Bond website. But anyway, this has been quite fun. That incomplete list of improvements is what I have presented, but generally, if I could do anything, I would just standardize this page content. And I don't think anyone is too concerned about the tests of this page. I think it's kind of one of those, what you see is what you get. So some of the usability standards defined out here in this ISO. Really, people with disabilities are excluded from this website, which is kind of not great. So that's the improvement I would really go for. But thank you so much. This has been fun, and I hope we can discuss things further.